Hi, boys and girls. Well, this time I'm reading The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter, a little slower, and we're going to look at the words. I'm going to point to the words, and we're going to spend a little time with the illustrations. So, this is like the reading version for those of you who want to learn new words or English or whatever. Here we go. A Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mama in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. This is the fir tree. And see how they've dug under the tree into the root system? And that's where they are living. That's where their mama has them living with her. "Now, my dears," said Mamma Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor." Oh, not good news. She gives Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. There's Peter. "Now run along and don't get into trouble. I am going out." Then Mamma Rabbit took a basket, her umbrella, and went through the woods to the market. She bought a loaf of wheat bread and 5 blueberry muffins. Ooh, that sounds good. There she is. Basket, umbrella. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to pick blackberries. And there they are. See them picking? And you know blackberries have very, very scratchy stickers on them if you've ever picked them. So they have to be careful and use sticks. Very cute. But Peter, who did not listen to his mama, ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. Oh. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And those look like carrots to me. And look at the beautiful robin. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley to settle his tummy. Oh, poor baby, he ate too much. But around the end of the vegetable box, whom should he see but Mr. McGregor? Oh, there he is. Oh, my goodness. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving his rake in the air and yelling out, "Stop, thief!" Oh. Peter was most terribly frightened. He ran all over the garden, silly-nilly, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes in the cabbages, and the other shoe somewhere in the potatoes. There's a shoe right there. After losing his shoes, he ran on all 4 legs and went faster. I think he might have gotten away had he not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large brass buttons on his brand new blue jacket. There it is, caught in the net. This is the net. Here are the gooseberries. There's the brass button. He's caught. Peter gave up trying to get loose, and he cried big tears. But his sobs were heard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and encouraged him to try harder to get out. "Come on, Peter. Come on." Mr. McGregor came up with a big basket which he intended to pop on the top of Peter to catch him. But Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his new jacket behind him. Oh. Peter rushed into the tool shed and jumped into the tool can. It would have been a wonderful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each one. Suddenly, Peter sneezed. Kerchoo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. He tried to put his foot on Peter, who jumped out of the window, knocking over 3 plants. Luckily, the window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter, so he went back to work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very wet and cold from sitting in that can of water. After some rest, he began to wander around, going lumpity-plippity this way and that, looking all around for the gate. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse, there he is, was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the woods. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Oh, poor baby. Then he tried to find his way across the garden, but he became more and more lost. Soon he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his watering cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scratch, 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 scratch. Peter dived underneath the bushes to hide. He waited. Nothing happened. He sneaked out and climbed up on a wheelbarrow and peeked over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the great gate. Peter got down very quietly off of the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could to go along the stone path behind some blackberry bushes. Mr. McGregor saw Peter at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was fast safe at last in the woods outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes like a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked back behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of his rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in 2 weeks. Oh, my goodness. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed. There he is. And made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. Poor Peter. There they are. The end. Until we read together again next time, boys and girls. Bye-bye.